Mr. Speaker, honourable members of Parliament, it is with a great sense of honour that I rise today to commemorate and reflect on the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide. I would also like to say a warm welcome to our distinguished guests for the importance of this day for the members of the Australian Armenian Association and Tasmanian Greek community. Mr. Speaker, this was a tragedy that occurred over a century ago, but one that still weighs heavy on the hearts of many Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks around the world. Between 1915 and 1923, approximately 1.5 million Armenians, 750,000 Assyrians and 1 million Greeks were killed by Ottoman Turks and Kurds in a genocide that aimed at and nearly succeeded in destroying the Christian communities in the Ottoman Empire. I will quote, "We have made a clean sweep of the Armenians and Assyrians of the Azerbaijan." Those were the words of the governor of Van province in the Ottoman Empire, who, on the 24th of April 1915, led 20,000 Turkish soldiers and 10,000 Kurdish fighters in the opening act of the genocide of Assyrians, Armenians and Greeks. This was the first genocide of the 20th century, when almost an entire nation, the Armenian nation, was destroyed. However, amidst the darkness of this tragedy, there is also a glimmer of light, a ray of hope that shines through the stories of the many Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks who have found a new home and a new beginning in Australia and Tasmania. From the depth of their suffering, Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks have shown remarkable resilience, strength and courage by rebuilding their lives, creating a future and sharing their rich culture and traditions with the people of Tasmania. But first, I would like to remind the House of the horror of the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide and how a small group of Tasmanians worked to bring love, security and hope to those children who were the innocent victims of the conflict. The Armenian, Assyrians and Greek genocide began on the 24th of April 1915 when the Ottoman government arrested and executed over 200 Armenian intellectuals and community leaders in Istanbul. This was followed by the deportation and massacre of Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks throughout the Ottoman Empire. The Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide was carried out by the Ottoman government and its military forces, as well as by local militias and vigilante groups. Many Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks were forced to leave their homes and travel on foot for miles to reach concentration camps or to be killed along the way. The journey was long and arduous, with many dying from hunger, thirst and disease. Women and children were often subjected to sexual violence and forced into slavery. The lucky ones were simply deported, never to see their homeland again, marched into the Syrian desert. The Ottoman government justified the genocide by claiming that the Armenian, Assyrians and Greeks were supporting the Russian army, which was fighting against the Ottoman Empire during World War I. However, historians and international organisations have recognised the genocide as a deliberate and planned effort to eradicate the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek populations in those territories. Despite the scale and brutality of the genocide, it was largely ignored by the international community at that time. However, there were some individuals and organisations who spoke out against it and provided aid to the Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks, such as the Near East Relief Organisation and the Tasmanian community. In recent years, many countries and international organisations have recognised the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide as a genocide, including the European Parliament, the United States, Italy, France, Germany, Canada, and many other countries around the world. The legacy of the Armenian, Assyrian, and Greek genocide is still felt today, as many Armenian, Assyrian, and Greeks around the world continue to seek recognition and justice for the atrocities committed against their ancestors. It has also influenced international law, and the way that genocide and crimes against humanity are defined and prosecuted. Mr. Speaker, I would like to talk about our island state and the significant role it played at that time. There is a great sense of pride in Tasmania and its people. In 1920, a group of Tasmanians formed a relief fund committee to raise money for the Armenian, Assyrian and Greeks affected by the genocide. The committee included prominent members of the community such as the Archbishop of Hobart and the Chief Justice of Tasmania. They organised fundraising events such as concerts and fairs and solicited donations from individuals and organisations throughout Tasmania. They raised £600, which is approximately $13,500 in today's value. The funds raised were sent to the Near East Relief Organisation, which provided humanitarian aid to the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek. Tasmanians' efforts to raise funds and establish an orphanage for surviving children are a testament to the power of community solidarity and compassion. It serves as a reminder that even small acts of kindness and generosity can make a significant difference in the lives of those affected by conflict and displacement. The Tasmanian community efforts did not stop there. In 1922, the Relief Fund Committee established an orphanage in Nish, near Yerevan, to provide shelter, food and education for Armenian children who had lost their parents in the genocide. The orphanage was named the Tasmania Orphanage in honour of the Tasmanian community support. The orphanage continued to operate until the Soviet takeover of Armenia in 1923, and it is estimated that over 500 children were provided with assistance during its operations. The Tasmanian community's efforts to support the Armenian, Assyrian and Greeks were not unique, as many communities throughout the world responded to the humanitarian crisis resulting from the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide. However, Tasmania's contribution is significant because it demonstrates how a small community in a remote corner of the world was moved by the suffering of a people halfway around the globe and took action to provide support. On the 24th of November 1922, the Congregational Union of Tasmania, made up of official church leaders, wrote to the Prime Minister demanding action in support of the Armenians, Assyrians and Greeks facing significant persecution. Lara Priest, a nurse from Tasmania, was sent to Alexandropol, Armenia in 1919, where she provided relief to over 20,000 orphans who were being cared for by the Near East Relief Association. Nurse Lara Priest received part of her training actually at the Launceston General Hospital. In recent years, there has been renewed interest in the Tasmanian community's support for the Armenian, Assyrian and Greeks. In 2015, the Armenian National Committee of Australia unveiled a plaque in Hobart to commemorate the Tasmanian community's efforts in raising funds and establishing the orphanage. The plaque reads, "This plaque is dedicated to the people of Tasmania who, in 1922, established an orphanage in Armenia for the victims of the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide." Mr. Speaker, Armenian, Assyrian and Greek Tasmanians have made a significant cultural contribution to our state. In addition to their cultural contributions, they have also been active in community and humanitarian organisations. As Tasmanians, we have opened our hearts and our homes to the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek community, welcoming them with open arms and giving them the opportunity to share their culture, traditions and stoic strength with us. In doing so, we have not only enriched our own lives, but have also contributed to the rich tapestry of our state's multicultural identity. But as we reflect on the past and honour the memory of those who suffered and died during the genocide, we must also recognise the ongoing impact of this tragedy on their people and their descendants. The wounds of this dark chapter in history are still very raw and painful. It is our responsibility as a global community to acknowledge and address the long-standing repercussions of this genocide. We must work together to promote peace, justice and human rights for all, and to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. We must stand in solidarity with the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek people and all those who have suffered from past wrongs and work towards healing and reconciliation.
Hear, hear.
In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide was a horrific event in the world history that resulted in the death of approximately 1.5 million Armenians, 750,000 Assyrians, and almost 1 million Greeks, and the displacement of many more. Today, the legacy of this genocide continues to be felt as they seek recognition of the atrocities committed against their ancestors. Many of us have the opportunity to visit and pay our respects at the grave of family members, to lay flowers and to reflect at that site. We have a grave to go to. However, for many descendants of the orphans, there is no such place of reflection. And this is very important because for a lot of us, we take for granted that we can go and put a flower somewhere and reflect at the tomb of a dear loved one. But for many of the descendants of those orphans, there is no such place. They cannot go and do that. I take this opportunity to honour the memory of those who suffered and died during the Armenian, Assyrian and Greek genocide, and to pray for a brighter future where all people can live in peace, freedom and dignity, regardless of their race, religion, sexual preferences or any way, shape or form. Everyone has to be free to live a peaceful life.
Yeah.
May we never forget and may we always be grateful for the light of goodness that never fails to shine, no matter how dark the circumstances surrounding it. And I would also like, Mr. Speaker, take this opportunity to thank the Premier for enabling this motion to be brought in front here of the House. Also to warmly thank the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Rebecca White, and the Leader of the Greens, the Honourable Cassie O'Connor, for supporting this motion and for being here today, and for the entire House for supporting the passing of this motion. Thank you.
Honourable.